Being high risk carries a lot of worry with it because you don't know what your future holds.
I always wanted to play music, and piano specifically. My parents signed me up for some lessons and took it from there. Initially, my love for art history started in high school. I just find the galleries to be my way to decompress from life in general. It's just a stress reliever. I enjoy the silence of the gallery. To be a mom certainly is one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had. I've always said that you only have one shot at this, so I want to make sure I get it right.
I've been married for 10 years. The first time I met my husband, our eyes connected across the warehouse. I work for a large global financial institution in their Canadian office, and I work in their financial crime compliance area. So that means I fight the terrorists that are trying to move money through our financial systems. I love to travel, to experience new places and new cultures. I can cook. Everyone thinks because I say I don't cook that I can't. But my husband loves to cook and does the majority of the cooking.
Being the youngest, these two were great big sisters, but sometimes didn't always do the nicest things to me when I was little. They made me eat dog food one time.
Carl and I, we were separated by a grade, but we did everything together, played together, and worked together. Every job we've ever had, we've worked together. It's been awesome having two best friends that you can share everything with. Sure, we've had our fights, but they've always been very short-lived.
Throughout this journey from day one, I never walked alone. I always had somebody. I had my family, I had my friends, I had my colleagues. The support from everybody has just been incredible.
I have 4 boys. My eldest is almost 15 and my youngest is almost 4. And I have a husband who is a surgeon, and it's a very busy, active life. Running for me is my meditation. My mind is clear. I could really think about everything in my life. When I breathe, it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel healthy. I don't care if it's boiling out or if it's minus 20. I enjoy every time I run. Every time I run, it's a new experience.
What I'm studying at Harvard is a PhD in organismic and evolutionary biology. I also do some evolutionary psychology, which is basically how or why we evolved to think and behave the way we do now based on our evolutionary history. I like science. I like being curious about things and the idea that you can keep learning things. My fiancé and I went to high school together. We're getting married at the Royal Canadian Yacht Club, so out on the Toronto Island. I'm not a really formal person, so we kind of want it to be outside and romantic and fun and relatively laid back for a wedding.
I was considered high risk for breast cancer because at the age of 19, I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is another form of cancer. And for that cancer treatment, I had radiation to my chest. 4 or 5 years after I'd had my radiation treatment, when I met with my oncologist, she told me that studies had been done that showed young women under the age of 30 who had radiation were at higher risk for developing breast cancer later in life.
At the age of 26, I was aware that breast cancer was going to be a significant part of my life, primarily because it is a strong trait on both my mother and father's side of the family. There are aunts, grandmothers who have had breast cancer, so I knew early on in my 20s that it was something that I need to be aware of. And I did ask for early screening. Initially, it was denied by my family doctor because I guess the mentality was that a 26-year-old, 27-year-old wasn't necessarily at high risk of cancer.
My mother's breast cancer was a shock to all of us because she had just had a full medical overview and everything was clear. And one day she woke up with bleeding, went to her family doctor who quickly led her to Princess Margaret to find out that she had advanced breast cancer. It was only when she was diagnosed that she remembered that her aunt had breast cancer. We never really thought it was a concern. We never really thought it would affect us. So it wasn't really on the radar.
We had no idea that we were high risk. We had never really had a family history. It wasn't until Carla was diagnosed, and because of her age and the nature of her cancer, we were then offered the genetic testing, and that was our first indication that we were in the high risk bracket.
My mom got cancer when I was the summer after my first year of college. I was actually really, really mad at my mom when she got cancer. I didn't handle it super gracefully. I kind of felt like she was the person who kept stuff together in my family, and like she wasn't allowed to be sick. In terms of my own risk because of my family history, it's something I think about a lot. My fiance had to talk to me about it because I guess I kept saying, you know, when I get breast cancer, I want this kind of wig, or like I want pink hair, I want some whatever, and I would kind of talk about it really casually as though it was an inevitability.
The doctors highly recommended that I do mammograms, ultrasounds, which came back irregular. Suspicious things were happening, and so then I was led to do MRIs. I had the family history, I had the Jewish background, also my age. I was 40. And so all of these things put me in the high-risk category. And the day I found out I was high risk at my doctor's office at the hospital, the doctor and the nurse left the room to do the calculation to see if I was high risk and came back and confirmed to us that I was indeed high risk. I was walking around with maybe 70% chance of getting breast cancer. And I remember looking over at Aaron and my eyes welled up and I was in shock.
I was pregnant with twins. I was 7 months along, and initially I had located a lump in my breast, and I had gone to my gynecologist, and he had deciphered that it might have been a blocked milk duct. And for some reason, my gynecologist had recommended that I go to a different clinic and have another ultrasound, and that's the ultrasound that came back that I had breast cancer. It was malignant, stage 3. And it was an aggressive form of cancer.
At 31, I went back for my second mammogram, and that's when they discovered a lump in my left breast. So I went in to see the oncologist, and she said, you know, I'm really sorry, Stacey, but it is breast cancer. And I just remember being shocked and extremely sad.
One day I was, had a shower, putting my body lotion on as I normally do, and I found the lump. And at first I didn't really think anything of it because I think it was back in 2009 I had found a lump, went to my family doctor and went for a mammogram and an ultrasound and was told, it's a fibroadenoma. Lots of women have them. So went to my family doctor. She sent me for mammogram and she said, actually, I think that you should have it biopsied as well. So the surgeon said to me, this is concerning for breast cancer. And then, my jaw just kind of dropped because I wasn't expecting to be told that.
I saw her talking on the phone. I just kind of sat down and was waiting and watching her. And then I saw her face and I knew. And that was really hard, but that was the only time I saw her cry ever, was when she got the call. So I thought, okay, well, I'm not gonna cry either. And I didn't until today. But
the options were basically to be high risk and walk around with what I thought was a ticking time bomb, to do tests constantly and to go into the MRI machine and to do the mammograms and ultrasounds and then going to see the doctor. And it was just walking around with this huge weight on my shoulders. The other option was starting to take tamoxifen or some drugs to help reduce my chances. The option that really resonated with me and my husband was to remove my breast to get a double mastectomy. When I was first told about it, that was shocking to me, like just hearing that I could remove my breast. But then after speaking to my husband and taking time to really think about it, I came to the conclusion that that was actually the best solution for me. My almost 15-year-old son got emotional, and he told me he was so proud of me, and he backed me, and he thanked me for making that decision.
It was a stage 1 aggressive triple negative. So I think traditionally what they would have done is treated me with a lumpectomy and then followed by radiation. But because I had already had radiation to my chest, basically my tissue couldn't take anymore. So for me, the only option available was to have a mastectomy and followed by chemo.
Every accomplishment starts with a decision to try. I believe that anything is possible once you set your mind to it.
It's only one moment, it's not the rest of your life. It'll pass too. That was 4 months of grueling chemo treatment, and once that was completed, they had recommended genetic testing. In my mind, I had already decided for myself, before I even knew that I was genetically predisposed to having breast cancer, that I was going to have a double mastectomy.
Earlier that same year before my diagnosis, I was pregnant, but unfortunately was unable to carry my baby to term. So that was also weighing heavily on my mind, that we really wanted to have a family and I really wanted to breastfeed. And so I thought, I'm going to keep a natural breast because I really wanted to have that experience. Immediately, I had some, body issues. I wondered, what would my husband think of how I looked? And then that was followed by chemotherapy, so I lost my hair. I had one breast. I had gained a lot of weight because it was shortly after being pregnant. I didn't feel the greatest about how I looked, and I was really worried about what he thought of me, and would he still find me attractive, and would he still want to be with me? None of that mattered to him. What mattered to him was that I was taking care of what I needed to be around for a long time. That's all he wanted, was to grow old with me.
It's a piece of you, it's your identity. So you think of when you're at camp and you try on bras with your girlfriends, and you think about having babies, and I breastfed my 4 children, and it's a huge part of who you are. It's an identity thing.
After I'd sort of gotten back into my normal routine of life, I realized, I was high risk, and that there was definitely potential for developing a new cancer in the other breast. And after having gone through everything I'd just gone through, I realized that I didn't want to have to continue being screened every year. So I decided to have prophylactic bilateral mastectomy and remove my other breast.
The surgery to me was like whatever I had to go through, I would go through, because ultimately that was going to be the safest thing for me health-wise. I honestly still feel shocked about it, even though I've now taken action and I've done it. I've done the double mastectomy and I'm healed and I'm physically better, and now I'm dealing with the psychological aspect. It's a huge thing to process.
Genetic testing is new in terms of the possibility of it. It's new in terms of how long it's been available to patients, really.
In my mind, there was absolutely no question at all that I wanted to have the testing done, because, I've got children, and, certainly wanted just as much knowledge as possible about everything.
We found out about Carla's gene mutation and were presented with the opportunity to also get tested. Of course, I wanted to. I feel like knowledge is power, and I wanted to know as much as I could.
A benefit of knowing your risk level genetically, obviously, is that you can plan for it. So you could have, preventative surgeries and things like that. I think it is really helpful for people who need time to kind of wrap their heads around this thing that might be happening to them. But I also think that there's this danger of becoming kind of obsessed with that this is what's going to happen to you, and you're not giving, there's no guarantee of anything, right? Like in any genetic test, there's like a percentage chance that this might happen to you, but there's a lot of factors that go into that and how that's calculated. And I have a lot of friends who've had issues with getting life insurance because of the types of genetic predispositions that they have for different types of disorders. So I know women who have some of the genes, like the BRCA2 mutation, or some of the genes that make you more likely to get breast cancer, and a bunch of life insurance companies refused to give her life insurance until she got the test, but if she got the test and it said that she was going to get it, they wouldn't insure her.
We opted to get the testing done, and she explained to us what it would mean if they were positive or negative, and offered to give us each our results, again, either separately or together, offered for us to come back as a group. So yeah, we went in together, and she said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to each of you and tell you your result. And she started with Erica and basically just said, Erica, you tested positive for the BRCA1 gene mutation. And then she went to me and said the same thing. And then went to my mom and said the same thing. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, you have that moment of disbelief where it's like, really, all of us? You know, I expect one or two maybe, but for all of us to be.
So the results came back from the genetic testing, and I was positive for the BRCA1 gene, BRCA1. And what that meant really was that I had an 80% chance of getting breast cancer again. So my reaction was not one of tears. The doctors also indicated to me during that time that they were surprised that I wasn't emotional about it. And I said to them, it makes sense. It makes sense to me why I was faced with breast cancer, why I'm on this journey. And for me, it became more about educating my family members. I have a daughter. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for your children? And not to be afraid of it, really to say, hey, this is what our family and our genetic makeup is all about.
When I found out that I had the gene, of course, that's the first thing I thought of right away. Like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? We wanted another child, and does this mean that I shouldn't have one? I started thinking, if we do have a third child and me having the gene, am I going to pass it on to this child? And is it ethical knowing that I know this information? I've come to a point when I feel like I'm not going to let this stop me from what I want for my family and for my life. Maybe I'm crazy for not thinking that I should be booking my surgeries, but I think you only have one life to live, and I need to look at what I want as a family, and I trust that for now I will be okay, and I just need a little bit more time to figure out what we're going to do, and then I will move forward with the surgeries. I think to myself, I thank God that I had my two beautiful kids that are healthy, and I had them when I did have them, because had I known that I had this gene and I haven't had any kids, that would be a really tough decision.
I'm only 25, I'm still in school. I still have a lot of big decisions that are coming up in my life that I don't want to feel like I have that information kind of hanging over my head and potentially negatively impacting the way that I make those decisions, or making me less risk-taking or less likely to try certain things that I would want to do. And so right now it's not really something I'm interested in.
Everything does happen for a reason. And we're an example of that, and we're fortunate to know what we know. And having had the triple negative breast cancer and knowing the implications of that recurrence is higher within the first 3 years, and it was a more aggressive kind of cancer. That's always in the back of your head, you know, once you're past everything, is it going to come back? Every ache and pain that you have.
Worrying is like a rocking chair. You move, but it gets you nowhere. And that's kind of stuck with me because I've always been a worrier. And with all of this happening with our family, I've learned that you just have to sometimes let go and let things happen the way that they will.
After having made the decision to have the other breast removed and to have reconstruction, I feel good. I feel like I've really reduced my risk. You get almost this anxiety sometimes right before you have an appointment that what if they find something this time? And I don't have to live through that.
I also went through drastic surgery. Eventually down the line, I had a hysterectomy. And, because knowing full well that I had that risk, whether it be of the reoccurrence of breast cancer or ovarian cancer again, I didn't want to take any chances of hearing that word. If it does come back, I'm satisfied with the fact that I've given it my all. I've done everything that I could do.
2 weeks ago, I had my ovaries and fallopian tubes removed, and next up this year at some point will be the double mastectomies with reconstruction, and I'm just looking forward to having them done and completed so that I can move forward, not having the constant cancer cloud hanging over my head.
I believe, based on what my doctors told me, I'm no longer high risk. My chances have reduced to like 2 to 3%. So it's a totally different scale of things. And I feel so blessed for that. It is like a new body. And I'm still not 100% comfortable in my own skin. At first, it was more of the physical element because I had tubes tied to me, because I didn't want to get infected, because I could hardly mobilize myself. So it was just getting over becoming physically strong again.
The woman I am today, following, surgeries and treatments, I feel good in my body. I feel like it's really gotten me through some tough times, and that this is the body that I have now. It may not have been the one I was given originally, but it's been altered and tweaked. But it's a strong body. Played Mass in Caravana this year and was out in public in a 2-piece bikini filled with feathers and sequins, and I didn't feel ashamed if my scar was showing. That, it's part of my journey, it's part of my story, it's part of who I am now.
We've definitely had our trying times, and at the same time, I think knowing that you do have the gene, you have all of these options that could potentially save your life.
Knowledge is power. You don't necessarily need to take drastic measures like I did to have surgery to ensure that cancer never comes back. But at the same time, how would you not want to know this information?
I would just encourage the education part of it, do the research, find out what the statistics are, how you fall into those statistics, and take all of that into consideration before deciding what's best for you.
I have a quote on my foot from one of Charles Darwin's original journals, and it says, "I think," in his handwriting. I find it to be a reminder of, I'm in control, and I find it really empowering to be in charge of your own life.
A quote throughout all of this was, "You gotta go there to come back."
One of my favorite quotes is, "Some women are lost in the fire and some women are built from it." There are times that there are fires and we have to put them out, and we have to stay strong and positive.
We must be willing to let go of the life we have planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. The longer we hold on to what we thought we were gonna have, really hinders us from accepting what the universe has available to us. My life may not be how I planned and thought it was going to be, but it's the life I love right now and everything that comes with it.
I am strong, yeah, I am tough. I like it soft, I like it rough. I am big and I am small. I'm 5'2", I'm 10 foot tall. I am black and I am white. Today I'm taking back the night. You don't wanna mess with me, because glory is my destiny. So I'm a keep up,